Welcome back, everyone. In today's explainer, I'll be your lecturer as we walk step by step through section 8.3 of our software engineering textbook. We're focusing on a really critical phase in the software development lifecycle, and that is release testing. I'm going to teach you every concept exactly as it appears in the text. We'll unpack definitions, walk through the textbook-specific examples, and just make sure you have a rock-solid understanding of the material. Now, why is this so important? Well, because passing your own developer tests actually means very little if the software doesn't do what the customer actually needs it to do in the real world. A successful release test is literally the thing that gives a software company the confidence to finally ship their program out to the public. Okay, let's take a quick look at our agenda for today. First, an introduction to release testing. Second, requirements-based testing. Third, scenario testing. Fourth, performance and stress testing, and we'll wrap it all up with a quick exam summary. All right, let's jump right into section 1. Introduction to release testing. Before we do anything else, we absolutely have to define what release testing actually is. According to our textbook, it's the process of testing a particular release of a system intended for use outside the development team. The whole goal here is to convince the supplier that the software is good enough for actual use. If it passes, it can finally be released as a product or handed over to the customer. But here's the crucial part. This process must be performed by a separate objective testing team, not the original developers. You see, developers inherently know exactly how the system was built, which naturally introduces bias. An independent team guarantees strict objectivity. Now, you might be wondering, what makes this different from normal testing? There's a really crucial contrast here. During the development phase, you perform what's called defect testing. This is where programmers actively try to break the system just to find and fix bugs. But release testing is fundamentally different. It's validation testing. Validation is about proving to the customer that the program actually works and meets their specific requirements. So we aren't just hunting for broken code anymore, or validating that the system delivers its promised functionality, its performance, and its dependability without failing during normal, everyday use. And because this release testing team is totally separate from the developers, they use an approach called black box testing. Let's define this one clearly. Black box testing means the tester does not look at the source code at all. They essentially treat the software as a completely closed black box. All they care about is providing a specific input and then checking if the resulting output matches the system specification. It's sometimes called functional testing because the focus is entirely on the functionality, not the internal programming logic. So to briefly recap our first topic, release testing is independent, black box validation designed to prove the software actually meets the customer's needs. Moving right along, let's look at section 2, requirements-based testing. A general principle of good software engineering is that requirements absolutely must be testable. Because of that, requirements-based testing is a systematic validation approach where every single requirement in your specification document is evaluated. There are no shortcuts here. You cannot skip any requirement in the spec. You have to systematically prove each one is satisfied by deriving a specific set of test cases for it. To really understand this, let's look at an example straight from the textbook regarding the MenScare system. Remember, that's the software program used for managing mental health patient data. So, one specific requirement in the MenScare spec states, if a patient is known to be allergic to any particular medication, then prescription of that medication shall result in a warning message being issued to the system user. Furthermore, it says that if a prescriber chooses to ignore that warning, they have to provide a written reason. Now, here is where beginners often get tripped up. A common misconception is thinking that one requirement equals one test. Not true at all. Testing a single requirement demands multiple test cases to achieve full coverage. For this allergy rule, the tester has to design 5 specific variations, which the text outlines. First, setting up a patient with no allergies and prescribing a drug just to ensure no false warning is issued. Second, a patient with a known allergy being prescribed that specific drug to make sure the warning actually appears. Third, prescribing 2 different allergic drugs separately. Fourth, prescribing 2 allergic drugs at the exact same time to ensure multiple warnings trigger correctly. And fifth, overriding the warning to ensure the system actually forces the user to log a reason. To sum up this topic, a single requirement demands exhaustive, multiple tests to validate every possible logical branch.
Okay, that brings us to section 3, scenario testing.
So, while requirements-based testing looks at isolated rules, scenario testing is an approach that uses typical, realistic narrative stories to develop test cases. Basically, instead of testing a single isolated feature in a vacuum, you create a story about how a real human being would interact with the system in the real world throughout their normal day. As noted in our textbook by software testing expert Sam Kainer, These scenarios must be narrative stories that are both credible and fairly complex. And this is important. If the scenario is realistic, stakeholders can easily relate to it. It motivates them because they suddenly understand exactly why it is so vital that the system passes this specific test in a real-world setting. The textbook gives a really fantastic example of this, the MentCare home visit scenario. Let's walk through it step by step. We invent a character, George, a mental health nurse. George starts his morning by logging into the system and downloading his patient records for the day. He then enters a key phrase to encrypt his laptop for travel. Next, he visits a patient, let's call him Jim, at his home. George decrypts the record, queries the system for medication side effects, and notes that Jim's recent sleeplessness is actually a known side effect of his medication. So, George adds a prompt in the system to call Jim later to change the prescription. Finally, George returns to the clinic, uploads his data, and the system automatically generates his call list. This little story brilliantly illustrates why scenario testing is absolutely essential. You see, George's single journey tests how multiple features interact together. We are testing authentication, database uploading, encryption, and query links, all in one continuous flow. And doing it this way reveals emergent problems. For instance, what if the encryption process is super slow and frustrating? Well, George might just skip it in the real world to save time, which leads to a massive security risk if his laptop ever gets stolen. Scenario testing catches these complex human interaction issues that a simple requirements test would totally miss. So, to quickly recap Section 3, scenario testing evaluates how multiple system features interact seamlessly within a realistic user narrative. Awesome. Let's move on to Section 4, performance and stress testing. Once a system is fully integrated, we have to test its performance. But to do this accurately, we first need to define an operational profile. What is that? Well, an operational profile is a carefully designed set of tests that accurately reflects the actual mix of work the system will handle in normal, everyday use. Think of it like a pie chart of daily tasks. If your real-world system spends 90% of its time processing standard transactions and only 5% of its time generating reports, your operational profile test data has to mimic those exact percentages. This proves the system can confidently handle its normal intended workload. Now, while performance testing checks normal operations, we also desperately need to know how the system behaves when things go wrong. And that brings us to stress testing. Stress testing involves deliberately pushing the system by making demands that are well outside its intended design limits. We basically want to stress it until it inevitably breaks. Let's look at the textbook's example to make this super concrete. Imagine you have a transaction processing system that was specified and designed to handle a maximum of 300 transactions per second. In standard performance testing, you just verify that it handles those 300 transactions smoothly. But for stress testing, you definitely do not stop there. You intentionally push the system further, let's say, to 400 transactions per second. Why on earth would we do that? Because we need to observe its failure behavior. When a system is overwhelmed, we need to ensure it exhibits what we call fail-soft behavior. Failing gracefully or failing softly means the system might slow down, or maybe it rejects the extra transactions with a polite error message, but it manages the failure. What we absolutely want to avoid is a catastrophic crash where the system just completely collapses and permanently corrupts the database. Stress testing proves that even in worst-case scenarios, your data remains perfectly safe. So, recapping our final core topic, performance testing verifies normal operational profiles, while stress testing pushes the limits to guarantee that crucial fail-soft behavior. And finally, Section 5, Exam Summary. Let's lock this all in. I highly recommend you take a screenshot of this slide or jot these bullet points down, as these are the key facts very likely to appear on your upcoming tests. First, remember the fundamental distinction. Release testing is validation testing done by an independent team to prove it works for the customer, whereas defect testing is done by developers just to find bugs. Second, black box testing means the tester relies solely on inputs and outputs without ever looking at the source code. Third, requirements-based testing is exhaustive. A single rule requires multiple test cases to cover all the logic branches. Fourth, scenario testing uses complex, credible stories to test how different features interact with each other. And finally, be able to define the goal of stress testing, intentionally exceeding the system's design limits to guarantee fail-soft behavior rather than catastrophic data loss. Understanding this whole phase is so crucial for the software lifecycle. Once the independent testing team finally gives the green light through this rigorous release testing process, the software system is ready to be handed over to the actual customers. And that leads us directly into our next textbook topic, Section 8.4, User Testing, where we'll explore alpha testing, beta testing, and final acceptance testing right in the customer's own environment. I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder before our next lecture. Passing your developer tests means absolutely nothing if the system isn't validated for the real world. A completely bug-free program is completely useless if it doesn't solve the customer's actual problem. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you in the next session where we finally put the software into the hands of the user.